We are going to be talking today about generating joy. And I'm Franklin Heiston. I am one of the founders of Blaze Consulting Group, and we will be your cruise ship directors for today. But we were invited some time ago by the Warriors Foundation to create a series to support educators and those who lead in organizations that serve young people and families, to create a space where folks can check in with themselves about how we sustain ourselves in the work, um, in the hopes that folks will be able to continue to carry on to do good work with children and their families, and not rush out to leave the sector. And especially the Warriors were concerned, and the Warriors Foundation were concerned for teachers and other educators as well, and supporting those. And so this really is an interactive space. I'm going to make an offering for a topic or two for our conversation, but our invitation to you is to lean in. And are scheduled logistically to go until 5 o'clock, and then to offer an additional half hour if anyone wants to stay on and do a coaching on a particular place where you want to get support for. Thank you, puppy. Get that support for in your own professional or personal situation. So it's been nice to chat with folks afterwards in this session. And then we have one more session on December 15th, and we'll tell you about that in just a second. So let me put up my trusty prepared slide deck, and then we'll talk a little bit about who you are. So again, just want to present our sponsors, Generation Thrive, the partnership between the Warriors Foundation and the Kaiser Foundation. Our host, Imani, is not on screen, but is close by. So if you need any help with the operation of the Ring Central platform, or any questions about the Warrior Foundation, feel free to Generation Thrive as well. Feel free to chat Imani, who's on the call with us. I talked a little bit about what the purpose was. And today I am representing Blaze Consulting Group, which is an organization that we started, my partner and I, after working in nonprofits for over 20 years, especially youth serving nonprofits in the Bay Area. We want to continue to offer training, coaching, and facilitation that supports the folks who support children, youth, and families. And so we're doing that throughout the state, and this is one of our featured programs. Myself, I worked in Oakland for a number of years. So my office, as you can see, I'm a proud Oakland guy, but I love the Bay. I love California. And our offices are located right here on the Oakland border in San Leandro. All right, so let's take a look at our topic for today. So the holidays are a season of joy, and we think about them and literally attach the word joy to it. And we think about the smells, we think about the lights, we think about connecting with loved ones. You know, we have several traditions that I think we're in, is it day 2 or 3 of Hanukkah right now? And we are also thinking about various other ways that we can come together. For those of us who work in schools and nonprofit organizations, one undoubtedly thinking about our children and how they experience this time of year, and how to create joy in the classrooms, joy in our after-school programs. But for 62% of Americans, there's also this increased stress. And I was surprised to find out that only 10% of people say they have no stress connected with the holidays. So we wanted to just carve out some time today to talk about how we generate joy for the holidays. And the pathway there is I'll take the I'll take the curtain away because we have educators on the call, is to look at social emotional learning strategies, but how do we use them as adults? How do we employ them to take care of ourselves? So many times we come to PD and trainings like this and we think about what can I do for my students? Generation Thrive also wants this to be a space for you to think about, now, let me slow down long enough to sit with myself and see if I'm getting my needs met, if I have a plan or some strategies and capacity to go in for what for some people is not only a joyful time, but also a time of stress. And so how do we rally our social skills in ways that energize us and not drain us? So that's our opportunity for today. You see Santa saying Christmas is a time for giving, and it sure is giving me a headache. Um, One of the things that we have to allow ourselves is to give ourselves the permission and authority to name that we are stressed and to realize that we're having this common experience, right? So sometimes it's helpful to see that we're not alone. So I want you to click your reaction button. You can give a thumb or a heart, or you can just even put your thumb up if you're on camera. If you've experienced any of the following, let not only for yourself to acknowledge, but just so people can see they're not alone. So how many of us have experienced during this time tightness in our chest and back as a way that stress manifests? Our chest and back. So I know I've had that one. How about our neck muscles to the point that sometimes it gives us headaches? Brandon said back but no chest. Yep. How about our gut? Do you know there's a major connection between the brain and the gut, so that when we feel anxious and stressed, the stomach sends a direct message to our gut to either be nauseous, to vomit, to have butterflies in our stomach, and other symptoms that are directly connected. So sometimes stress manifests in our body, and you thought it was just a coffee, but it was, oh, I got to go on a Zoom call. I got to make these purchases. I got to figure out if my gift is good enough, if my programming is good enough, or my teaching. Or we might have, and you don't have to acknowledge this, but hey, I know I can, that we have this stress level makes us want to have a hit of dopamine, that chemical in our brain that makes us feel good and pleasure. And so we try to reach that through substances, through eating, through alcohol, through marijuana and other types of drug. And but then the flip side of that is then I have Thanksgiving dinner and or Thanksgiving or whatever, and we have all this food now left over, and I don't want to feel guilty for either letting it go or overeating it. And so it creates this silly cycle of stress for us. And so that's why we have to have as a first step to acknowledge that as superhuman as you are, as much of as amazing as you are and what you're able to get done each and every day, that as a human you're going to experience some measure of stress. And so I want to invite you to grab a piece of paper. This is going to be a quick exercise um, that just allows us first, social emotional learning would teach us that all starts with self-awareness and being able to articulate the facts and the feelings about what we are experiencing. And so I want to invite you to grab a sheet of paper, and on one side of that paper, I want to invite you to take 3 minutes and write down 3 facts, 3 things that are happening outside of you that are causing you stress. 3 things happening outside of you that are causing you stress. So are they external to you? And then across from it, you'll list next to that the emotions that may be coming up because of that event or that factor, right? So 3 facts and at least 3 feelings. They've identified 3 forms of stress we're all collectively going through, meaning that we're experiencing this in communities of people. One is the pandemic stress from coping with more isolation, more anxiety, watching the news, and even grief that we
He
talked
left their
about.
glasses.
We're losing folks to COVID. And then also, we as a society are also going through racial battle fatigue, right? And so we're understanding that we're constantly facing racially dismissive, demeaning, insensitive, and or hostile racial environments and individuals. And our news cycles are reminding us that daily at this point, and it's having obviously an impact on numbers of folks all around. And then today's topic, we're talking holiday stress with its intensified focus on the family, work, and money. The statistics there say that this increase in stress is felt more by women than men. So let me just pause and see if that brings up anything for anybody in terms of just knowing you're not alone. So then, how do we get out of this? First, we have to be willing to remind ourselves of our own story of resilience. Let's remind ourselves that the challenges have only made us stronger, that we've gotten to the place where we are, wherever that is, because we've constantly been able to overcome the odds. And let's remind ourselves that we somehow got ourselves here and that we adapted to our environment. And some of the ways we adapted may not have felt as healthy, but there were things that we did that got us to where we are because we were able to adapt, not assimilate, but to adapt. And in some cases, we did it, what felt like alone, but in a lot of cases, it was because we did it in community. So we tried to figure out as a community, how do we hold ourselves together? How do we push through the times? And so this principle here of we're better together, of tu eres mi otro yo, of Ubuntu, reminds us that there's an ancient wisdom that reminds and has done the work to get all of us here today. So with those skills or with those experiences, each one of them taught us to have a skill set around generating joy. And that skill that we want to live for today is finding the silver lining. So that part is a skill, right? So the things I just mentioned were about attitudes and beliefs. This part is about a skill that we could develop like a muscle, which is finding the silver lining and reminding ourselves that because of the past, this is not where we are today. As crazy as this sounds for me to say, this is not the rough side of the mountain. I was in a meeting some years ago, and Maya Angelou came on to the meeting, and we were all working hard, and she reminded us very quickly, this is not the rough side of the mountain. That there has been some movement and some shifts. And so that just gives us thoughts and hopes that we can build the skills to continue to move that forward. So then we might say, in this case that we have a situation where my health habits are declining. But what is something that we can say to generate our own joy? So then we can shift to what is one movement activity that I do enjoy? Not that I have to make a commitment to go work out 7 days a week, 5 days a week, but can I dance this week? Can I put on music while I clean the house so that I pick up the step a little bit more and I move a little bit faster? Can I wash my own car this week and do one thing that I enjoy? We might feel like seeing family makes us anxious, but now we live in a time where we could choose our family and we could choose our friends. And so even though we have to see our family, maybe we say, let's also have, a lot of people are doing this now, the Friendsgiving concept. And that lets us to be with people that we enjoy being around, that feed us, that energize us. Um, those of us who have worked with kids for some time know that this is a stressful time for kids because they start to anticipate not being in school and not being in programs, so they get worried that they're not going to see their friends and the adults, the healthy adults in their lives. And so if you work with some of the tougher neighborhoods and the tougher groups of young people or young people who have structural challenges, then you'll start to get a little worried about the 2 week break. um, and while we can't control that, and the 2 week break is an important time for us to rejuvenate, we can think about how would I like to send them off and how would I like to welcome them back? So how do we create new rituals about how we do that in ways that make the kids leave with joy and look forward to their arrival back? And we remind ourselves that we get to take off the superhero cape, also known as the Messiah complex. I have to save them all. We get to take that off because we get to share that our kids are surrounded by community and there's several folks who can contribute, and we won't be as arrogant to think that we're the only person who can impact their lives. And then the final piece is, and this really applies to most all of the season, is that at a time when our finances may not meet the desires that we want to express during the holidays, um, that we remind ourselves that this really is, seriously, this is a season. It's a cherished season, but it is that, a season. It comes and it goes. It is not the defining factor of my life. This season is not the defining factor of my life. So let's look back at our list and some of the things that we heard from our friends that have just joined, our new friends that have just joined our lives. Look back at some of the things that they talked about: cleaning the house, feeling appreciated, um, leaving the cat, um, consumerism. What are some of the reframes that we can create and offer? Will you offer someone else a potential reframe that'll get us started on generating joy? Here's the work. Let's practice the muscle. What's a reframe that will help us to practice and generate joy? You can look in the chat if you're looking for ideas.
Oh, one reframe is to find something to be appreciative for within that stressor, or attached to the, at least to the fact, or I guess you could try it to the feeling, depending on what it is, right? So, um, you obviously, we've seen mention of stress from health and eating or finance or what have you. So, the uncertainty of finance, for example, can present stress, but having a place to start, right? We can be appreciative for having a place to start with our finance, right? And finding a way to at least be grateful for that, and recognizing that we still have to figure things out.
Absolutely. Brandon, I had a colleague of mine who's also a personal coach, and I mean, it sounds somewhat crazy, but at least she practices with when things get tough at work, she says, "This is awesome." Say to yourself, "This is awesome." Things are happening just as they are supposed to. And then see what your brain comes up with for gratitude. Kiani, what an amazing offering. For the cat, a reframe could be, the cat loves me regardless. The cat loves me regardless.
And frankly, related to that, this is also an example. One thing, if I'm in the right headspace, I can sometimes I'll just reference that it's going to be a chapter in the book, right? So you've got to have an interesting piece of tension or conflict to make the chapter interesting.
Absolutely. And that chapter is both in service to you, but especially into service for someone else. I must have experienced this for someone else to see the chapter in the book. Let's see another one. What about COVID? What's something we could do to generate joy and a sense of self-compassion alongside COVID?
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. Come on. How about I can control what I can control? And recognizing what we can't control. One of the things I give people advice on about COVID is this too shall pass. Come on, Kiani. And one of the things that I give people advice for around managing COVID anxiety is to pick one activity for yourself that you can control, and you control the hell out of it. You go crazy about this one activity. And for me, it is, I have multiple adults in my house and multiple kids in my house. And so I announced to the house, I will cook on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And that's it. But on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I have it. And so I just literally go crazy about everything from setting that menu and thinking about that menu throughout the weekend to thinking about us eating all at the table together on Monday night, what the conversation and icebreaker will be. I'm thinking about everything I can control, serving that dinner family style and not just from the stove when I have the time coming off of work. And I get to really just control the hell out of that. So if you want to drop in the chat, like, what's one thing that you can do, an activity, and you can control the hell out of that activity? Oh, for my job. For my job, a reframe could be, I do my best, and that matters most. Absolutely. Excellence, not perfection. Excellence, not perfection. Trying to bring perfection will drive us into stress. Yeah, what's something, put it in chat, what's something you'll be able to control. Nobody's been able to stop me from doing these push-ups. That's right. Because they can happen anywhere. Bathroom, living room, hallway, desk. Absolutely. Quality time with my dogs is something I can control. There you go. And you can obsess yourself about every little detail about what it means to take care of that dog or those two dogs. Right? Well, you go get all the toys, all the snacks, which snacks they like, which one they don't like, which ones they get on Tuesdays. But that actually helps us to ease out the cacophony of everything that's really seriously trying to come at us around the COVID stuff right now. And so we need a break from that. And that's how we get the break. So we have some strategies. And the final strategy I want to share with you today is if reframe is the novice strategy, I would say that the advanced strategy for us is the ability to create moments for other people, to redesign the moments. This is where this idea is where not only are we aware of what we need, but then as folks who create spaces for others, which I'm sure many of the people on this call are, whether they're little people or big people, that it's learning how to, one, appreciate the beauty of moments as they come to us throughout the day, throughout the week, and we get to create beautiful moments for others. So now, how do you curate spaces like this, virtually or in person, that help to give a hug to other people? What could be beautiful about creating new rituals to share with your students, your colleagues, your friends, and your families? So this is the advanced move, which is to really think about this holiday season. If I can get it within myself enough to reframe a little bit of what I'm going through, then a power move, I forget what my kids call it, a cheat code. That's what my little son calls it. The cheat code of really finding that gratitude that Brandon is talking about is being able to create these beautiful moments for others. And talk about a dopamine hit. Talk about the feeling of giving that gives back to you, is being able to do that and have people get the support that they need. And so we carry that agenda forward, asking ourselves, how do we reframe the holiday season, not just for ourselves, but for others? And what new rituals can you introduce to students, friends, or your family members to reframing the meaning of the holiday away from materialism? So I will pause there, just see if you all have any feedback or comments about how you want to carry the agenda forward for our hour together. It was a short flight, huh? We just like flew down to LA real quick. Not even to LA, Santa Barbara, where Maria is. But think about what rituals does anyone have ideas about rituals they are planning to do with their students before they go off to the holidays? Or with your staff? I know we have Brandon here, he has a staff. Nestor has a class. What might you do for a new ritual? Or you can go back to the past to look forward, to say, oh, here's a ritual we can do. I'll tell you the secrets to rituals are really in our DNA. It's about food, it's about music, and it's about breaking the pattern, right? So anything where we can break up what we normally do and try something different, then we can create a ritual with that. Nestor says a simple one. I brought colored lights to my classroom and had the students put them up with me. Then we put them on and we turned off the lights. There you go. And you guys fix them together. There you go. And when we grapple with things with our students, the more we grapple, the more they own the outcome. You all, I appreciate you all for being here and for being in this conversation and for sharing of yourselves with your new friends. We are at a wrap point.